สำหรับในหัวข้อต่อไปนะคะที่เราจะมานะคะพูดคุยกันบนเวทีแห่งนี้นะคะนั่นก็คือ Keynote Speech ค่ะ Why we should Chiangmai over Silicon Valley นะคะซึ่งตรงนี้เองนะคะเราก็จะมีอีกหนึ่งท่านนะคะที่จะได้มาร่วมพูดคุยกันและตอนนี้ก็เชื่อได้เลยค่ะว่าท่านก็พร้อมนะคะรออยู่ด้านข้างเวทีแล้วค่ะ Okay and the next keynote speech why we should Chiangmai over Silicon Valley by Sven Ernst co-founder at Yoga Trail เอาเป็นว่าตอนนี้ถ้าพร้อมแล้วขอเสียงปรบมือให้เขาด้วยค่ะนะคะ Sven Ernst ค่ะ
Seems to work. Hello, Sawadee Krap. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm going to tell you a real startup story. It's probably the first one for today, it seems. It's a story about our journey that started here in Chiang Mai, actually, brought us all the way to Silicon Valley and back again to Chiang Mai. But let's slow down for a second and start from the beginning. My name is Sven. I'm originally from Germany, but have been living in Thailand for the past 10 years. And that's my two co-founders, Alex and Alex. Hey guys. We started a company together called Yoga Trail. Yoga Trail is the world's yoga network. We are connecting yoga providers and people who practice yoga around the world. And I think you could say, perhaps Yoga Trail, it's a small Chiang Mai success story. And what do I mean by that? You know, we didn't sell our company to Google or Facebook, and we didn't become millionaires yet. Still working on it though. But, you know, we created something. We created a product that is today used by tens of thousands of people around the world. Every week, every month, right? And I think that's some sort of success. And I think that, you know, goes out to all the people right now here in Chiang Mai, all the young startup founders working on something. I think you guys, you know, just by executing on your ideas, that's your first success story. It takes courage. It brings us to startup lesson number 1. Execution matters, right? Like you can have, you know, plenty of ideas, plans to take over the world, talk about what you're going to do, but in the end, you have to execute on those things. That's critical if you plan to do a startup. And that's what we did, I guess, you know, when we met actually here in Chiang Mai at Payab University at an entrepreneurship day. We didn't know each other before. And at that point, there was the idea, you know, about Yoga Trail. And we started building, we started executing on this idea. And our ambition was actually very high. We were actually working on becoming the go-to platform for people who are practicing yoga around the world. And I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with that industry. It's a big one. There's more than 100 million people. And they spend 50 billion every year. And these numbers are actually rapidly growing. So, you know, we had a master plan, right? We knew there's opportunity. And we thought, well, let's build a platform, let's launch it, promote it, and hopefully in a few years, retire, right? And in case you're working on a startup right now, and that's your master plan, I'm going to tell you, forget about it. It doesn't work like that at all, right? You might have heard about startup roller coaster, and this is really true. It's like going up and down all the time, you know. You're going to have days of great joy, everything works out, you think you're going to take over the world, right? And then the next day, you're stuck. And you have no idea, how is that ever supposed to work? Roller coaster. Brings us to the next startup lesson. Doing a startup is actually freaking hard. It's tough, you know. It's tough to figure out what people want, what people are willing to pay for. It's hard. And it needs 100% commitment. So in case you're working on something as a side project or part-time, you know, probably won't work out. It's difficult. You need to be all in, and you need to be in for the long haul, right? that's what happened to us, right? Like, a year after we launched the platform, we still didn't make any money. In fact, we were broke. We burned through our personal savings, and not only that, we had to take a loan from the bank, more than $100,000 just to be able to keep going. And that doesn't mean, we didn't have some successes as well. Like, things were actually going okay, right? We had some traction, but everything took longer than expected. And again, we didn't make any money. So we asked ourselves, are we actually doing things the right way? How do you know, right? We've never done a startup before. How do you know if you do things the right way? And that was the first point. And keep in mind, we were in Chiang Mai at that time. The company was started in Chiang Mai. But that was the first time where we actually thought, maybe, just maybe, we would be better off going somewhere else, where there's more of a startup community, right? And that was 3 years ago. Events like this today didn't exist 3 years ago. There was not a lot of people working on, startups. There was no ecosystem, investors, and all those things, right? And we kind of missed that. We thought this could actually really be helpful, If you could ask someone who's done it already, if you could ask them for advice, if you would find mentors, advisors, people with money who, trust us, who want to invest in us. That stuff didn't exist in Chiang Mai, maybe in Bangkok. But, there's one place around the world, I would say the startup mecca, where all those things exist, and plenty of those things exist, and that's Silicon Valley. It's San Francisco. So we thought it would be nice to, be able to go there. Maybe move there for a while and, learn from other people, sort of accelerate our business. But how to do that, right? We were broke, didn't make any money. How to move there, right? So the idea was born, well, why don't we try and apply for a startup accelerator? And I think today there might be actually thousands of accelerators around the world. There are lots of them. Even in Thailand now there are a few. But there are 3 which stand out, even today. The very successful ones, the big brand name accelerators. The ones that produce companies like Dropbox, Airbnb, Stripe, like unicorns, billion-dollar companies. And that's 500 startups, it's Y Combinator, and Techstars. And obviously we had nothing to lose, right? So we thought, why not apply at Y Combinator? Might as well, right? And that's actually our application video. So they require you to, fill out an application, and as part of this application, you're supposed to do a 1-minute video. And this was actually recorded in Chiang Mai in a coffee shop 3 years ago. I'm going to play it really quick to you guys. It's really short. It's kind of funny. Let's go back. Hi there, my name is Sven, I'm from Germany.
Hi, my name is Alex, I'm from Switzerland.
And I'm the other Alex, I'm American.
So here we are with the Yoga Trail team. We're in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is as close as it gets to paradise.
Yeah, Chiang Mai indeed is a very nice place. It's sometimes a little bit isolated, so we thought it would be great to spend some time in Silicon Valley. And to make that happen, we figured we'd reach out to the guys at Y Combinator.
We all feel like we've learned a lot already as part of our work on Yoga Trail, sometimes really the hard way, so we'd love to connect with people that could teach us to do things in an easier way.
And to figure out how to grow our user base.
And revenue.
And we're also looking for investors, the right kind of investors, who can help us to figure things out and get more done in a shorter amount of time.
We hope to see you soon. Thanks.
Yep, thank you. So, you get the idea. Our pitch was pretty simple, right? We're a team based in Chiang Mai, It is as close to paradise as it gets. We're working on the startup, but we're kind of stuck. And it would be nice to, join your program, get some money, and learn from you guys, right? So we send off the application, and, maybe I should explain that actually the chances to get into those programs are very, very low. There are about 7,000 companies every time sending in applications, 7,000. And about 100 of them are getting invited to the interviews, and about half of them are actually getting into the program, right? So our chances, very low. Especially being in Chiang Mai, I mean, nobody knew us, right? But again, we had nothing to lose. So we sent in the application, and a few weeks later, we already almost forgot about the whole thing. And it was a Songkran holiday. I remember that I was in Phuket with my wife. I was laying at the beach, checking my emails, and guess what? Y Combinator wrote us, right? So they said, hey, we like you guys, we like your idea, we like what you're working on. Why don't you come to San Francisco and join us at our interviews? And that was kind of a big deal, right? Actually, until today, there's not a single startup from Southeast Asia that ever made it into Y Combinator. So for us, remember the startup roller coaster? Like all of a sudden, there was this crazy opportunity, like joining the world's prestigious accelerator. And now it became pretty real. Like the chances to actually getting in there were 50-50 at that point, right? So obviously we got super nervous, excited, looking forward to the interviews. Like we prepared a lot, and because it's actually pretty expensive to fly 3 founders out there from Chiang Mai, it's an 18 hours plane trip, we decided only one of us would go, and that was Alex. So he would present Yoga Trail during the interviews. Right? So, guess what happened? Huh? I remember, it was early morning in Chiang Mai, and the interviews just happened, and we were waiting for the big decision, right? Did we make it? Huh? 5 a.m. in the morning, I was checking my emails, and Alex wrote, and it didn't happen. They said no. Huh? And basically how it works is this interview goes for 10 minutes. So we flew out there 18 hours on a plane for a 10-minute interview. And in those 10 minutes, we had to convince those guys to like us, to invest in us, to say yes to us. But they didn't, right? So I was devastated. Like, I personally was really devastated. Roller coaster again, right? From one day to the other. I felt paralyzed. I couldn't get up that day. I was supposed to go to work. It was not possible. I had to stay home. I needed some time to get over that, right? But Alex, he reacted in a different way. He got upset. He got annoyed. Because he was the one, sitting in a plane, flying halfway around the world for a 10-minute interview, and then nothing. Then they said no, right? So he did something genius. He tweeted to Dave McClure. Dave McClure is the founder of 500 Startups. They're nowadays very active in Thailand, so most of you guys might know what I'm talking about. And obviously we didn't know the guy, right? Like he has never heard about Yoga Trail. But we had nothing to lose. And we had about a day left before our plane would go back to Chiang Mai. And here's the tweet. Hey, Dave McClure. I'm from Thailand. Have to fly back tonight. We just got interviewed by Y Combinator. They said no. Maybe do you want to hear our pitch, right? And I guess we were lucky because just a few minutes later, and that was 6 a.m. in the morning, Dave McClure replied, sure, why do you guys stop by at my office and I hear your pitch? Huh? What happened here, I think, is super important. And it shows a few things. There's 2 things we can learn here. 1, you're better off with co-founders. We already talked about it. Doing a startup is freaking hard. Doing it by yourself, I think, is almost impossible. I know it has been done before, but your chances to succeed with co-founders are by orders of a magnitude higher. I'm convinced by that. Co-founders, they complement your strength, they complement your weakness, and obviously you have to choose wisely. It's an intense relationship. Some say it's like a marriage, right? But that day, Alex complemented my weakness. I couldn't do anything. I stuck at home in bed, and was all depressed. And he complemented that by writing this tweet. Number 2, be persistent. Maybe that's the single most important thing if you're doing a startup. Maybe it's the single most important thing in life. I don't know. Persistency, right? You cannot stop. You can never give up. You have to keep going. Y Combinator said no, so what? Let's tweet at Dave McClure. That's persistency, right? And guess what? 500 startups said yes. They invested in us. They invited us to Silicon Valley. Because of that tweet, because Alex was being persistent. So here we are in front of the Golden Gate Bridge, about to spend almost half a year, about 4 or 5 months in San Francisco, going through a program, a startup boot camp. And I told you our reasons why we actually started this whole process, right? We kind of missed the community in Chiang Mai, and we didn't know, are we doing things the right way? And, the lack of community here, that's the complete opposite in San Francisco. In San Francisco, literally everything is about startups. Everything. It's crazy. Everyone is working on startups. You take a cab somewhere, the driver works at a startup. You go eat somewhere, people around you working on pitch decks, building apps, whatever. Everything is about startups. Completely insane. But that's what we wanted, right? About 20,000 other startups and the same number of investors and angel investors. So that's the place to be. And then to give you some context about 500 startups, how it actually works, right? So their accelerator program goes for about 3 to 4 months. And during that time, there's a lot of stuff going on, plenty of stuff, like networking sessions, mentorship lessons. They teach you how to fundraise. They teach you how to, build your product and all those things, yeah. Startup boot camp. And at the same time, obviously, you have to keep working on your product, on your company, right? So it's a very intense time, very intense, but great experience. And we were not alone. Like in every program, there's actually 30 other companies, and they have a huge office in San Francisco, so you all work together with all the other founders, right? So that was probably the best part, actually, because, we had a chance to meet about 100 like-minded people from around the world, people with similar problems, people with similar challenges, right? People, we could talk about our sorrows, about, we could exchange ideas and so on. Great experience. And on top of that, they actually give you cash, $100,000 to start with. And in return, they get 7% equity. But really, for us, it was more about a network, about experience. Of course, it's also nice to have $100,000. But I think the real value you get out of the program is all the stuff, going on all the time. And that's, so at the end of this program, right, after this 4 months, there's a big day called Demo Day. Like that's the big climax, the big, finish. And at that day, every company has the chance to pitch in front of 500 Silicon Valley investors. That photo was after the pitch, like everyone pitched and everything went well. Everyone had a great time. And that's us at Microsoft headquarters where the demo day happened, at our little booth. So for us, it was like startup heaven. It was crazy. Yeah? We ended up raising money from investors from around the world. We have no investors from Thailand yet, unfortunately. So if anyone is interested, we can talk later. But like it completely changed our lives, really. Because before we were a little startup from Chiang Mai, and now we were a 500 startups company. Like we had access to this, ginormous network of people, experts, investors, other entrepreneurs. So completely elevated our company to the next level. But not sure if there are startups in the room right now, and maybe you guys raised money. That's actually, all that stuff is no guarantee for success. It is not. It might make your life a little bit easier, right? For sure. Now you can hire people, you learn a lot of things, but in the end, it still takes blood and sweat. You still have to keep going every day. It's still a grind. It's still hard. Takeaways from our experience in Silicon Valley. As I said earlier, for us, it was a great experience, especially because we came from Chiang Mai. So for us, it was completely new. Yeah? We were outsiders before, and all of a sudden, like we were a startup, sort of, under the 500 startups umbrella, and met lots of people, were able to raise money. Great experience. At that point, we actually had to think about what's next. What's next for us personally, and what's next for the company, right? Like, are we supposed to move here, to stay here in Silicon Valley? Or are we going back to Chiang Mai? And we seriously thought about it pretty hard. It's difficult, right? It's maybe a great opportunity to be able to live there, stay there, be permanently in this like great ecosystem. But on the other side, Chiang Mai was our home, right? So we asked ourselves, like, do you really need to be in Silicon Valley to be successful? I don't think so. And there are 5 points which stood out for us. 5 points which are, maybe weaknesses of Silicon Valley, but also pros and benefits Chiang Mai can offer. Number 1, there's too much noise, right? Some might say, well, that's a benefit. That's cool, there's all this stuff going on, right? There's all these events, but it can also be a disadvantage. It's very easy to get distracted, very easy. Yeah? We had a mentor and he explained it in a way, he said, guys, look, everything here we can offer you. It's like a buffet. Yeah? It's like a buffet full of food. And it's up to you what you take on your plate. But you also know that it's very tempting, if you're going to a buffet, to take as much food as possible, right? So it's tricky. It can be very distracting. Number 2, San Francisco is incredibly expensive. It's one of the most expensive places in the world. If you want to rent a studio apartment, be prepared to pay $3,000. And there are ways around it, You can hack the system, like this guy who rented a box, a cardboard box, at someone's living room, paying $400 a month. Working legally. Most of our team is actually not from the States. We only have one American guy. So if you actually want to legally work in the US, it's hard. Even if you have a company there, even if you have investors there, to actually get a work permit is, I would say, almost impossible. Yeah? And that's me in Chiang Mai at our office. I have 2 work permits here in Thailand. And it's not easy, but it's very feasible. Very feasible. Right? We're also living in a connected world, right? Like, to be actually location independent is more and more feasible. And all you really need is an internet connection. That's it, right? Of course, it depends on your business. Like some businesses, they require you to be on the grounds, go to door and talk to your customers. But for us, that wasn't the case. Our customers are around the world. And we can talk to them, we can email to them, we can talk to them on Skype if it's necessary, right? There was no need for us to be on the grounds in San Francisco. For us, it was very feasible to actually go somewhere else, actually be in Chiang Mai. Yeah? And number 5, maybe the most important one, Chiang Mai itself. Chiang Mai itself has a lot to offer, Of course, it's nothing like Silicon Valley, but it's growing, and it's going to the right direction. With events like the event today, there's more and more things happening. The community is growing. The infrastructure is great. Internet is great. There's international schools. There's a lot of universities. There's a lot of local talents you can hire, you can work with. And there's not, it's less competitive. Like if I want to hire in Silicon Valley, I compete with Apple, with Facebook, with Google. That doesn't exist in Chiang Mai, right? So, to summarize, we actually thought, well, we have everything we need to be successful here in Chiang Mai. And guess what? We returned after 5 months. After 5 months, we returned to Chiang Mai. And that's us at our office with our team. We started a BOI company here. Yeah? And now we're operating our business here from Chiang Mai. And it's working. There are no disadvantages. We don't look back. And of course, it's nice because we still have our network there in Silicon Valley. We can still go there sometimes and spend some time there. But it's not required for us to be there permanently, right? Which brings us to the last point, which actually has nothing to do with our story. It has to do with Chiang Mai. I've been living here for more than 10 years, and I think Chiang Mai has great opportunity. But I also think often Chiang Mai has a marketing problem. A lot of people don't know what is actually happening in Chiang Mai. They don't know about companies like us. They don't know about opportunities. You know, a lot of graduates from university, the first thing they think about if they leave school, they want to go to Bangkok, right? And I want to tell them you don't have to go to Bangkok. You could actually stay here. We have a lot of things to offer here, you know. And I think we can all try and work together. And by we, I'm talking about startups, digital businesses, government, education, right? We can work together and make sure Chiang Mai is developing. We can work together and make sure people know about Chiang Mai. People know about the opportunities here. And people maybe even consider, you know, setting up businesses here. And I think it's very doable. It's already happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you